glad to welcome you this afternoon. All you viewers out there, we are glad that you joined us once again. I'm also glad to be here this afternoon as we delve into the topic of mental health. And today, we are talking about loss and grief. This is a good time to explore this topic because of the many losses that people have encountered during the lockdown. Some have lost relationships, property, loved ones through death, and even mourning has become a problem. I actually got shocked. Another day, as I watched the TV, I saw people in Italy were being buried in masses without their loved ones. When you talk to the people in the US, they tell you people are dying in their beds without any visitations. All these are things that break people down. As a country, even here, we have lost freedom of movement. You cannot just go and visit someone the way you used to. Even hugs, I used to see young people hug. I don't know what they do nowadays. All these things have come to us. And so, as we discuss this topic, I welcome you to be with us tonight. With me today is Lambert Oigara. He's a counseling psychologist, and he runs his own therapy center at Hurlingham called CBT Kenya. Welcome, Lambert.
Thank you.
With me also is Mrs. Roslyn Kenya. This woman amazes me. When you hear the many losses she's gone through, and then she has this infectious smile, I just can't understand. Welcome, Roslyn.
Thank you.
My name is Florence Onsando. I'm a counseling psychologist. I work with Turning Point Counseling Solutions. We also run a drug and substance rehabilitation center, but today I'm here to guide this panel in the discussion on loss and grieve. How do you deal with it? I start with you, Roslyn. You have suffered many losses in your life. I'm sure you will not tell us all of them. But please tell us, just briefly, some of the losses you have undergone in your long or short life.
I don't know where to start because there are so many, but I will start with when I had heart operation. I had severe heart failure, and I was taken to Italy for the operation. And when I was taken to Italy, I was kind of shocked. I was saying, now here I go all the way to Italy, leaving my children here. Who will take care of them? But that time my parents were still alive. And then the church also participated. In fact, the church participated, my parents participated, my neighbors participated in contributing the money to take me to Italy for that heart operation. I thank them so much. And when I was operated, I was very sick. On top of being sick and seeing, I was in the HDU. My father passed away. He died. And they could not tell me that he died. He died. Because when I left for Italy, my father told me, Mommy, we are coming to see you after coming back. We'll continue to pray for you. And that one was really encouraging. Now coming back, he died before seeing him. I could not take it. Anyway, I was not told that my father passed away when I was at HDU. And when I came back, I was looking around, say, where are my parents? The office sent a vehicle to collect me from the airport. I was looking around, where are my parents? I was seeing my children, beautiful children, and the church really worked hard to take care of my children, my neighbors, and my parents, because they used to send things that were needed for the children. And now, I was looking around because my father told me, Mommy, when I come back from to Kenya, they will come. And nobody would tell me that your father died. At the same time, I could not. They were told me, the doctor told me not to be stressed. So they keep on giving me the medicine to make me calm down. And then after that is not enough. My brother, because of the shock of the father, also passed away. And again, I was not told. And now, when I was asking, where is my brother? Where is my mother? Where is my brother, my father? Everybody was just kind of shedding tears, but they did not tell me what is taking place. Now, I concluded, my father died. And the other one nodded. My brother, my sister, I did not know what to say. I did not know what to do. I lost everything, my mind, that is. I lost my mind because I could not take it. Here is my father who told me when I come back. He's my brother who was coming back for the forth to see the children. My mother was sending messages. I could not see them. What is this? I asked her, where are you, my God? Why do you let me be in this situation after doing all these things for me? And now I'm alone.
You had other losses.
Yes, I have nobody now. My brother is gone. My father is gone. And my mother is also in a shock because he has a daughter who operated. She did not know whether she will come out well. My father also passed away. Yes, now I was saying, my mother, where are you? I wanted to see my mother so that I could hug her. I was crying. I could not pray. But the God that we serve is so faithful and so gracious, I would say, because in that period, I had a lot of pain, and I was told not to be stressed, and I would try not to be stressed. At the same time, my children were so lovely because everybody would come and hug me. That used to make me feel so good, so happy, and we'll sing together, pray together, and indeed, children, it's good to have children. They used to lift me up. Despite of the pain, I was lifted up. Church also used to come and pray with me. Friends used to come and pray with me.
Please, Roslyn, tell us the other losses that you had. You've lost your health, you've lost your brother and your father. What other losses did you have?
And the last one was I lost my mother too, because we were born only two. So I lost my mother, my father, my brother. Now, that went by. God gave me a lot of courage, because that's why I said, please read for me John 16, verse 33, because just recite it.
John 16, verse 33 says, in this world you will have many trials and tribulations, but be of good cheer, because I've already overcome. Roslyn, I want to hold you there because I'll come back to you. Because you also told me you lost your house through fire. You also told me you lost your job. So she has gone through many losses, and later her husband died. But I want to come back to you, Lambert. Welcome. When we hear the word loss and grief, we straight away think about death. But as you hear from the story of Roslyn, she has indicated many losses that she encountered in her life. And I wish she had time to say all of them. Please, can you elaborate on the type of losses that we have? And we all grieve for the losses the same way?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Yes, and thank you for your very touching story. Clearly, in our society, we mostly know about death. When you think about loss and grief and mourning, the first thing that crosses our mind is death. But like you're saying, there are other types of losses. You mentioned about loss of property. Okay, you talked about health, because most of the time, we're in control of our health. You know, we are very fit, you're able to do things, and then you find that all of a sudden you're diagnosed with a terminal illness, a chronic condition, and you start going through that process of loss. There is the issue of losing friends. You could lose friends, you could lose a job, and during this time many people have gone through that loss. They've lost jobs. Divorce is also very common in our society nowadays, here in Kenya, and it's also a type of loss. Then maybe when it comes to people even younger, you find that maybe you lose your parents, or things happen and you have to go to foster care and that kind of a thing. That also is a type of loss. So those are some examples of losses that we all go through. And when it comes to grief and loss, the reality is that we are all unique and special. We all grieve differently. People are different. So there is no one way that is cast in stone that this is how you're supposed to grieve. Our sister here has actually told us our story and how she has actually gone through that process of grief. There's a high likelihood that someone else will probably not even express themselves. Okay, someone else will possibly venture into other negative coping mechanisms, which might talk about later. Yes.
So are you telling me if I lost my phone and I lost my brother, I will grieve the same way? Because I've lost a phone, it's a loss.
Yes. The beauty with the beauty with maybe if you lose a phone, there's a high likelihood you will be able to get another one. It's not the same as losing a loved one. You see, so those are totally two different things. If you lose a job, there's the hope that you might actually get. It might take a longer time, or you might decide to get into business. You know, you might have options. But if you lose your father, that's the only person you had. You spent a lot of time. You have so many memories, and he's not going to come back. And that's what I'm saying. People will grieve differently, and there are possibly people who will grieve for a very, very long time to come. And at times, if you spend a lot of time with someone, then sometimes it can become even complicated in terms of recovering from the grief. And that's why it's important to understand that if someone loses someone they've been with for a very long time, then maybe the approach might be different. And it's important to use the support networks. The spirituality is one example. And even research confirms that people who are very spiritual, people who are religious, tend to like really cope very well over time if they lose a loved one. So those are different, kidogo. There are those worldly things that you might actually be able to get. You might lose the phone, in the phone book, all the numbers, all the photos you had. Then you will go through that process, and then now you will possibly acquire another one. And people are different. People might take a longer time to actually even get a phone. Or you might get the phone immediately, but you see, you've lost all those memories. And you have to like really recover that.
Thanks. Thank you. Roslyn, you've told us about your losses. Please tell us, was there a time in your life as you were grieving those losses that you questioned God? You were angry with God. You wondered, God, are you really there? And if you are there, why aren't you coming through for me? Because you have not even told us about loss of your sight.
You know, I've questioned God many times. When the house got burnt, with everything, and but see one thing, God is there for us 24 hours. This house, you know, we were upstairs, and the house started got burnt around 12 and 3 o'clock at night. And I was alone in the house with a helper. Now, getting the children, in fact, I was asleep, deep asleep, and then I could hear from very far, I'm being called, Mama Tom, Mama Tom. I said, who is calling me? Then, when I opened my eyes, the house was full of smoke. It did not come to me that the house was getting burnt. I started pulling my children from downstairs. God gives you a lot of strength. Down, and I was just throwing them out. The last born child, when I pulled him out, the roof went down, pwap. Imagine, none of us was even a street of fire. Nothing. See the miracle work of God. And on that Wednesday, I went for. Now I used to go for morning, evening, Wednesday prayer every Wednesday. I just came from that Wednesday prayer meeting, and that's where the house got burned. The house got burned because these machines, they were connected. Like now, the house we live in, Magiwa. This other side, the owner left the heater on, and the heater had no water, so it just popped at night, and 2 houses got burned to ashes. But they were not there, but with us were there. But God saved us from anything even the smoke. That's the miracle work that God has done. Now, the second one, when I lost the job. Now, these children were going to school. That those days, the people used to pay school fees. Nowadays, that people go.
They still pay.
No, those days, people pay school fees. And when I lost the job, I said, now, these children are going to school. I don't want them to miss school. What do I do? Where do I go for loan or anything? But thank God I saved a little money the bank. So I used to pay those school fees until I got a job. But in between, I said, God, you saved me when I had severe heart failure, and I had this metallic valve. Now this house also got burned, and then I lost a job. God, where are you? Where are you? I was crying, saying, God, where are you? What have I done to deserve all these things?
Thank you, Rosalind. Hold it there. Lambert, is there a grieving process? I hear her talking of some process at this time. Is there a way we grieve? I'm coming back to you.
Okay. Maybe if we could say the standard way, there are certain authors, and one author that we like referring to is a lady called Kubler-Ross. Kubler-Ross has talked about the process of when you lose someone and the process of grief. And she talks about, I think, 5 stages of the way we are supposed to go through this grief. And she talks about the first phase, which is denial. You know, I mean, you ask questions, you're not accepting that is that has really happened, and so forth and so on. And then you go through emotions, and the emotion she mentioned is anger. Okay, and you've talked about God.
That's where
you
she
know,
was, yeah.
you're talking about asking God questions, and that's a very normal process. So if tomorrow you are angry, like our sister was angry, it's okay. I mean, because you are a human being, and you have a right to ask those questions. So there's that stage of anger. And then bargaining, again, I mean, asking questions, which goes hand in hand with anger. Bargaining, I mean, with yourself, with the people around you, with God, you know. I mean, why did this have to happen? Should it have happened this way at this time? Okay, maybe I should, I mean, maybe no one is supporting me. Maybe I should not do this, and so forth and so on. So you're actually having an internal struggle. And then when you've gone through all that, she talks about a stage called depression, and then acceptance. So after the depression, you reach a point where you actually come to terms with what has happened. And sometimes there is no timeline. People are different. There are people who will take a much longer time. There are people who will actually probably have all these mixed emotions at the same time.
At the same time.
Yes.
So it's not a process that now I've dealt with anger, let me now move to bargaining, now I'm at depression
Yes.
stage,
Yes.
they can come.
Yes. A good example is if you lose someone very close. There are people you've seen in our culture where if someone has died, they become very active. They are the ones who are serving everyone.
That
And in
reminds
fact,
me
that's
of my
someone-
friend. Yeah. Okay,
That's
God.
yes, just go and share. It reminds you of your friend.
It reminds me of my friend. When her mother died, she was taking care of everyone. She
But
was
herself.
a calm one.
Yes.
Then when the burial was over, she went down and had to be treated for depression.
You see, so I mean, so people are different, and there are those who who would actually immediately, when this happens, you will see their emotions all over, and they probably actually get depressed. They will go down. They will not eat. They'll probably not sleep. They'll continuously cry, and so forth and so on. And that is a normal stage. And it's expected that when they lose somebody, it's expected that you go through that. Now the challenge will become if it continues for so long to a point where now it starts affecting your functioning. That's where now it becomes a problem, because the topic you're talking about is a topic that cuts across. We all go through losses. That's what you're saying. It's normal for us to go. As long as we're in this world, we'll go through losses. But there's a point where now it might become abnormal. We look at the duration, and we look at your functioning. Okay? And apart from the duration, we look at how is this situation really stressing you to a point where you are not only harming yourself, but you're also hurting the people around you.
What do you mean duration?
When you talk about duration, you look at, like I said earlier on, people are different. The loss, it can take a very, very long time, okay? Because there are people who are resilient. They can take in a lot over a long
They
period
fall
of time.
and they rise up again.
They fall and they rise up again.
Like Mama,
Yes.
Mrs. Kenya
You know,
here.
we listen to her story,
Yes.
you're like, wow.
And she is still smiling.
Exactly.
Yes.
But now there is the opposite. There are people who actually, from the word go, they are not able to function. And it totally takes them down. And when you try to reach out to them after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they are still not coming up. Then that is a problem, and that is of concern.
It gets complicated.
Yes.
You know, young people say their relationships are complicated.
Indeed.
Sister Kenya, what kept you going through all this grief? I mean, if we sat to listen, what kept you going?
You know, that I say God is there 24 hours. And he said, I'll take care of you. The book of First Peter chapter 5 verse 7. And that also keep me up, because most of the time I used to refer to the Bible. Which one is going to suit me through this problem? Yes, it helped me a lot. And then the children. You know, my children, and through there, I think my children became more active to God than myself. And that's where we also started having fellowship in the house. Me and my children, every day when they come from school, they are, after doing everything that they have done, after eating and now we are getting ready to go to sleep, we have fellowship every day.
So I hear you say that your problem actually brought you, 1, closer to God, and 2, closer to your children,
right,
which is a very good thing. Now I want to ask, are there things that people did or said or did not do, things that happened and you wish they kept to themselves as you were going through this?
There is. You know, because when they saw me going through all these things, and they asked me, why don't you divorce that husband of yours? Now, I told them, you know, when you say yes, I do, through the worst and for good and for worse. These are worse. Is that will God allow me to go through this and leave my children that I love so much to another woman to take care of them? I will not. And this worse is what it is now. I'm not going to leave my children to go to another man. I won't until I die.
Amen. You know, someone has said, if you have 1,000,000 reasons to sink, just get one reason to keep you afloat. And for her, I hear it was her support system was her children. That was the reason that kept her going. What are the ways that we cope with stress, Lambert?
With loss.
With the loss, yeah, sorry.
I think there are 2 ways of looking at it. There is the positive, the negative ways, and the positive. But you've asked about the ways we cope.
Yeah, the
with
ways
stress.
we cope.
Do I talk about all of them?
You start with one.
Okay.
Which one do you want to start with?
Maybe you can talk about the common negative ways of coping.
Okay.
Because one, you'll find that whenever we are going through all this that is happening, we are in a storm of some sorts. And there's a lot of confusion, and because there are many emotions going on. And one of the things that is there, and I think last time you were here, we talked about alcohol and drugs. That is a negative way of coping. People might tend to get into substance in trying to kind of self-medicate, relieve all these emotions.
Numb
that
the
going,
pain.
Numb the pain, yes. Especially if the pain has been there for so long. You've tried so many things. You've seen psychologists perhaps, and maybe you did not follow up. You've prayed. You have talked to friends over and over again, and things are not getting better. Then you will possibly get into substance. Another negative way is over-exercising. Yes, exercise is important.
I thought it is very good to exercise.
It is important, but when you do it too much, then it becomes an issue. Wow. You exercise in the morning, in the evening, lunchtime and in the evening. 3 times a day.
So you can actually use good things.
Yes.
and misuse them.
Over shopping. If possibly at that point maybe in your career you've been doing so well and everything was okay, and then you lose a loved one. There's a high likelihood that you will actually engage in over shopping. You will spend the money that you have. Like before, maybe you used to save for the future. Now, what's the point? So you take all the savings you've had and you start using. You just spend the money. Possibly
What's the point? Sounds like they are hopeless.
Exactly. Overeating.
Yeah, I've seen. I've seen people,
Overeating,
yeah.
you find someone eating a lot. Or the opposite could also be true. You actually used to eat well, healthy foods and so forth and so on. You're okay, you're fit, but now you're not actually engaging much in the foods that you used to enjoy.
Before you go to the good one.
Yes.
Roslyn, can you relate with any of these that he has given? Any of these bad ways of coping? Are there things that happened, maybe you underate or overate or went into drugs?
No, mine is when I was like now when I say that people give you negative comments, I was not praying. So I would say, children, okay, forgive me, I keep on referring to my
They're
children.
your support system.
They were so strong in the Lord, in fact, so active in the church, so active in the house, that sometimes I forget about these problems. But when we kneel down to pray, I don't know whether sometimes they tell me that, Mommy, you pray for so long. And I keep on repeating myself.
I can imagine.
Maybe if I could allow me, like over. You see, I've talked about over shopping, overeating. So your children were talking about you pray for. Did you find anything unusual about that then during that
keep on
time?
repeating
Yes,
myself.
yes.
Yeah, that's
She said she kept repeating
You kept
herself.
repeating yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Until my
So-
children said,
so she
"When-
can
when-"
relate.
Yes, you can relate. Yeah,
Okay.
wonderful.
Now you move on to the next one. The good coping.
The good coping. Okay, spirituality, religion, and prayer is good. That is a good coping mechanism. Okay? She's talked about something else which is very important. I mean, support, the sense of connectedness, being with people who actually understand you, who are supportive, okay, who can walk with you, who will listen to you. You see, those are positive coping mechanisms. Another positive coping mechanism is, again, I mean, exercise. I mean, being able to exercise regularly but not over-exercising. Another positive coping mechanism is being able to be in a position where you are cognizant of the situation that you're going through, okay, your thoughts, the thoughts that you're experiencing at that particular moment, the emotions, and how you are responding to situations. Okay? Of course, when sometimes you are going through a loss, you might not be aware of that. Okay? Depending on how far things have gone. But if you are aware that there's an imbalance, then it's because you are aware, cognizant of all these things I've mentioned, then it is a positive way of coping because you are aware and that is why you are alive. Another positive way of coping is actually being in touch with the people around you in terms of the church leaders, okay, the people who are very pivotal in your life, maybe your bosses, being in touch with the elders back at home, okay, in your community, because they understand you, they understand where you're coming from, probably understand the nature of your problem, and you're able to actually consistently reach out to them. Another positive way of coping is actually just understanding your problem. Literature, we have internet, we have information, being aware, because many a times we are not aware, and we think whatever I'm going through is abnormal, but it's not. You are reacting in a very normal way to abnormal situations that are happening to you. So part of coping is just being able to know what it is that you're going through And one of the ways of knowing that is actually reading and even consulting a professional. Sometimes people come to us, professionals, and you know that, to just really understand, connect. You know, just to confirm that, yes, whatever I'm experiencing, the loss is a normal thing. So sometimes you might just need to actually meet a professional, confirm that, yes, whatever you're going through is normal, and it's okay. So the support, basically I've mentioned a lot about support. Whenever you're going through that, the most important thing is support.
Support.
Yes, look for it. For her, as much as she's saying she was overdoing it, it kept her going. The prayer, okay? But sometimes also it's not enough because people around you notice, I know. Maybe you're going a little bit overboard, but it actually really helped her.
It helped her.
So
it kept
combining
her afloat.
a number of things is very, very key.
Thank you for the viewers at home. I have a comment or a question from one of our viewers, Med Vance, who is asking, how do we balance between grief and forgiveness?
Good question. How do we balance between grief and forgiveness? Maybe let's go back to the types of loss and all that. Because many a times you find that maybe if you've lost somebody, maybe you had a lot of issues, unfinished business with this particular person who has gone. Okay? Or maybe you actually blaming God, you're blaming yourself, okay, for the loss and so forth and so on. So when you talk about combining this and how you could relate this loss or grief and forgiveness, we need to remember that you first have to really come to a point of actually processing the grief or the loss and understand what it is that you are actually struggling with in terms of not being able to forgive and let go. And then now the most important thing is now with someone who can help you to take time according to you to understand what is forgiveness. Okay? Understand the consequences of lack of forgiveness because there are many. They can affect you physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, in all ways. So what you stand to gain if you choose to forgive. And then now you can be helped to go through the steps of forgiveness. Many times we talk about forgiving and forgetting, and people challenge that word, forgetting. Forgetting is not that you forget. It's not that you forget what happened. Because
what are you forgetting?
Beings, you cannot forget.
What are you forgetting?
But just like a wound, if you have a wound today, and 5 years from today, if you manage the wound and you treat it and you get well, there'll be a scar.
Yes.
You touch that scar, you won't feel any pain.
So have you forgotten or you have moved forward?
Yeah, that's now the process of it, because now you forgive 70 times 7 times. It's a process, you continue doing it, and actually it helps you. But many of us have carried so much, so that even when you go through a loss, you're already vulnerable and you crash. So that when sometimes you start talking about the lists of the people you've not forgiven or the things that you blame yourself, it's 1, 2, 3, 20, a long list. You've been carrying that all through for so many years. So it's important to appreciate that sometimes you are vulnerable, so and if you are not, and you've experienced a loss today, it's important now to actually process it. The more you process it, the more connected you become in your body, your mind, your soul, and in every way.
I want to ask you to briefly tell us what you mean by process it.
Processing it is actually being able to perhaps come to therapy or get a spiritual leader or a pastor, someone you trust, to actually help you to go deeper. The pain, it's like the wound I was talking about. If it's painful, then the doctor would probably tell you that we need to actually treat it. And the process of treating can be a little bit painful. But what is the goal?
To get well.
To get well.
Yeah.
So the process, it takes time, and you talk about this in a safe environment, and you explore and explore more.
Thank you. So it's someone to walk with you through the grieving process.
And
And
forgiving and
is
forgetting is
one of-
also a process, one of the
Yes.
things that needs
And
time.
what I hear you say is that forgiveness is for me.
Yes.
Someone has said that when you do not forgive, it's like you are taking poison and you expect someone else to die.
Yes.
You are carrying someone's punishment on their behalf.
Exactly.
So forgiveness is good for us, but we need someone to walk with us
Indeed.
Through the process of forgiveness. Rosalind, what can you tell someone who has lost their health? You've lost your health. Someone who has lost their property, which you have done. Someone who has lost a loved one. You've lost so many, your parents, your brother, your husband. You know, you've lost so many. It's not a small matter. What can you tell them? And these guys, all they can see is darkness. They are not seeing any light, and they feel that God is allowing them to go through these challenges. What can you tell someone who is almost giving up?
Well,
Very briefly. Yeah.
before I answer the question,
Mm.
I'll go back to the forgiveness just a little,
Speak up.
because sorry, when we were going through these things, it was like every day. I tell my children that, that is your father. You cannot have any other father. And he used to come, and when he comes, just welcome him, because that is your father. But they do the lot of
Speak up so that people can hear.
So I said, when I was going through those things, I tell my children, that is your father. Don't forget, you cannot have another father. He's your father. So whenever he comes, they will open the door and they will talk and will ask questions, but many questions which are not the children are not happy with the question that he was asking. Who came here? What did he do? Things like that. So they were not very happy with those questions. But in the end, before he died, I did not know that he will die. I called him and I told him, I have forgiven you.
Amen.
I called the first time, then he told me, you are pretending, you are a good pretender. I said, talk of anything, but I'm telling you, I have forgiven you, so that I can be free, and I don't want this to block my way to heaven. You think you are a Christian, huh? I said, no matter what you say, I'm telling you, I've forgiven you. Now,
That's
back to your
courage.
question that you were asked about. What did you ask?
What can you tell someone who is almost losing it because of the many losses that they are going through?
It's not easy to give a one answer. But as I said myself, when I had stroke, and this stroke, I did not have high blood pressure, I did not have anything. I just went for this gyno checkup the way you used to. And then the doctor tell me to, after testing me, find, your pap smear is clean as a baby. I asked the doctor, how can my age, do children have pap smear in the first place? Why are you telling me that my pap smear is clean as a baby? That is an insult. Anyway, then he sent me for another test. They took my blood, and I did not know why he was sending me for blood tests and for X-ray. Those things I did not even know. And then after that, I was told that I'm being admitted. Why? Now, in the end, they want to remove my I've forgotten the thing that they wanted to remove. They wanted to remove, and I said, no, I'm okay. I did not have any problem with my uterus. Oh yeah, they wanted to remove my uterus. I said, I've not had any problem with my uterus ever. So why should it be removed? They said no, because your age. And I said no. I've consulted many ladies, and that was normal, because when you are getting older, the periods keep less and that. So I asked the doctor.
Yeah,
I've already asked other ladies why. I mean, they're okay, but why is it that you want to remove my uterus? Because I asked other ladies, they said it's okay. They said, with your your health, that's my heart problem, you cannot cope. I said, how? I'm not pregnant. And how can you remove my uterus? I don't want my uterus to be removed. And then we kind of arguing, and then I said, let me not argue with the doctor. I just went to the bed, and we were given two. One had this side and this side, Kenyatta Hospital. And I was told that you will be operated the first day tomorrow morning. I was not operated the first day, the second day, and then I said, let me go home. Can I go home? Then he told me, you can go home, but tomorrow, make sure you come back before 8. Hey, the following day I went home, and I came back. He told me, don't eat anything when you come. At night, don't eat anything.
So were you finally operated?
I was not operated.
Thank God.
So,
Thank
but
God
you know
you
what?
were not operated.
If they said that they wanted to operate me because the uterus would give me problem, I've not had any problem up to now.
Thank you.
Now, when I had stroke, this is what caused my stroke. This is what caused my stroke. At night, when they were supposed to operate me the following day, they gave me intravenous, those drops and whatever. At 9 o'clock, I could not talk. I could not remember anything. I could not. So one of my friends from church, hey, Mrs. Kenya, you cannot talk. So he called the two members from the church to come. And then at the time they told me that I had stroke. I did not know that the blood was this side also.
That's another loss, Mama Tom. That's another loss you went through. Just hold on there. That's another loss you went through. You've lost your health severally. In fact, at one time you lost your voice again. So you've gone through many losses, and you can talk and talk and talk about it. But we need to move because of time. And we are looking at the year 2020. Last year, 2019, December 31st, I was in this same place in this church, and we celebrated the coming of the year 2020. Just like all of you viewers who are out there. And we wished each other Happy New Year. And we had plans for the year 2020. And we expected things to go the same way we had planned. And then we started with locusts in northeastern Kenya. Then came the floods in the Rift Valley. Then there were demolitions in Ruai and all those other places. And then what next? COVID happened. Freedom of movement was curtailed. Freedom of hugging and greeting went. Visiting people became impossible, and many things changed in the twinkling of an eye. The world was locked. Those who were in the US remained there. Those who were in Nairobi remained there. Yesterday, my nieces went to Kisii, and my brother called me and said, can we allow these people to come? My parents are 90 years and above. I said they can greet them from afar. And then my brother tells me, if you go to Kisii now or wherever out of Nairobi, the chiefs are called and the police come and you are in big trouble.
And you're in quarantine. You're quarantined.
You are quarantined. Long gone are those times you could sneeze and people say, bless you. Now you sneeze,
You have corona.
And you have corona. We have students who are waiting for exams or are waiting or are planning. I don't know what's happening. We have marriages. People had planned for marriages. Like in this church, we have one of our youth alum who had planned for a big wedding, and I wasn't invited. And he only ended up having a wedding for 6 people. We had people who were waiting to graduate, and that did not happen. We have people who were coming here every Sabbath for worship. Now they are missing church. They are worshiping in their homes. There's so much that is going on. Things are out of control. Things are crazy. And then we have Of late, Lambert, this is to you, we are hearing very big words coming up. Big words like anticipated grief, like collective grief, like, you know, all those big words on grief. And please tell us, what are some of those words that they are using, and what can we do now? Because it's crazy. There are shared spaces in the houses, and families are on each other. Domestic violence, there is no money, losses of jobs. I mean, I can talk until tomorrow. Please, how do we cope with that now?
Okay. Yes, dropping big words. Yes, many people drop big words. And also I think, like you're saying, it's good to simplify them, okay, for the audience, so that we understand. Because what you are describing, the collective grief, I mean, really, whenever there's a disaster, you know, natural disaster, terror attacks, we've had, unfortunately, such experiences in the past as a country. Recently, Dusit attack that was recent. We had so many, and it's like we almost forget, but the reality is that we store it in our brains and it remains there. You see, all those, I mean, they're talking about the locusts, the demolitions. You see, those are things that are affecting a lot of people. They're affecting almost the whole country or a whole county, okay, plus the COVID. So that is the collective losses, I mean, because it's affecting everybody, okay? And when that happens, most of the times you find that our reaction, or the way we react is normal, okay? The way we are reacting, the anxiety that comes with it is a normal thing, okay, to an abnormal event, because we didn't see it coming. And then now, how we connect that with the anticipatory loss is like now you are actually going through maybe a terminal illness, or you are going through this COVID-19, and last month you are told, you'll have to take a pay cut.
Or go home, like the people in the
before you go home,
industry.
Before you go home. Or like you're saying, when it happened in March, people immediately started realizing, hey, we are going to actually lose our jobs. The airlines have had a problem. I'm not going to travel. I was planning to travel to the UK, for example. I was planning to travel to... The borders have been closed. You're planning to go to Kisii, the example you've given, you know? So the anticipatory losses is when you are actually, something is going on and you actually can see that this is gonna eventually lead to a loss. So you are, by the word, and you're anticipating the loss. So it's simply put. And many a times, even before the COVID, there's been this bit of terminal illness. Someone is actually diagnosed with a terminal illness, and you've been there supporting them, and sadly they are going down. And they're actually seeing that you're going to actually lose them. That is, simply put, that is anticipatory loss. Yes. So those are some of...
And then there's another one, symbolic.
Symbolic. I like the way she talked about her losses. And I'll give an example. Like now, let's say if you've been married, you've been dating someone, and you had expectations. You're expecting that you will finally get engaged, you will get married, you will have children, and you will live happily ever after.
Amen.
Now, you see that's expectations you are having. And then now you get into the relationship and the opposite happens. You stay there because of children. You are having the domestic violence. You are having challenges, infidelity, whatever, abuse, verbal abuse. And they say actually even verbal abuse and spiritual abuse is even worse. And then now eventually you get the strength or things happen and then you leave. Now the loss of you had gotten to this relationship, so you are better, but now you had expectations and they were not met. Okay? So you keep on remembering. If it was okay, I would have actually ended up happily ever after. We could have been together. So that is the symbolic. I mean, you're actually remembering that in your mind. You're like, actually, you got married, and now you're out of marriage, and you are actually not getting you did not get what you wanted. So you miss it. You look at it and you feel like you've missed out on some of those things. So symbolically you're looking at, that's the symbolic loss in terms of you're looking back and you're seeing the things that you actually missed out on.
So what do we do now with all these anticipations, symbolicism, and collectiveness? What do we do now to deal with our mental stabilities and balances? Because actually what they're saying, for example, in the country, in Kenya now, we are hearing people are buying alcohol. Alcohol is now done in home delivery. It has gone so high. Okay, so that's how they want to deal with it and numb their nerves. The government is telling parents, please don't drink at home. Okay, but then this guy is agitated. He used to go to the gym. He cannot go to the gym. Okay, he used to have his own space in the office. Now his office is the sitting room, a table there, and the children are saying, Daddy, and all those things. What do we do now so that we can maintain our sobriety?
Okay, I think first of all is just accepting that this is happening, okay, and understanding what you're going through and the symptoms that you are having or what you're presenting with. First understand that, and then make use of what you already have, because you already have resources. I think when in mid-March when this happened, people became very creative. Started coming up with ways and means of coping, staying at home, getting a new hobby, studying, so adjusting to this new reality of wearing masks, okay, of appreciating that people can learn how to cook new recipes and so forth. So how do we cope? First of all, like I've said, it's when you are aware, you are alive and it helps you. But most importantly, it's to adjust to the new normal. Embrace technology and what technology is doing to us. Like now we are having a service, we are talking to people from here. Being able to actually look out or watch out for the negative coping mechanism. Again, we are coming to that because like you're talking overindulging, okay? Stress management, because people basically are stressed and they are looking for ways and means of stress, managing the stress. But what the methods they're using are making matters worse. So just being cognizant of this is stressful, what other ways can you use to cope with stress? We talked earlier on about support networks, being able to communicate, keeping in touch with your loved ones. So if your children can't go to Kisii, they can actually call. You can use technology. Again, technology has come in, and you can Skype, you can Zoom to try and cope and connect with people. Children are very important. Sometimes we might actually ignore them. It's important to actually use a language that they will understand to try and see whether they actually are aware of what is happening, okay? And once you get to their level, using very simplistic language, then now you can actually help them to manage the anxiety, because you're seeing many children who are probably even saying that I am seeing things, I'm hearing things, I'm having nightmares, because they have stayed in their house for so long. They are not engaging in the activities that are very important for growth spurt, playing and running around, okay? And they are now having to adjust to homeschooling. Their parents are the ones who are actually teachers.
And they have
Perhaps also a positive thing that maybe gives them an opportunity to bond. The parents, which before parents were always busy and so forth and so on, you get to know your child.
Only
and
that
so
the
forth
parents
and so
snap
on.
at them now.
You see now the stress that's there. So it cuts across, I'm saying, children and teenagers and adults. Really, it's important to look out for some of those telltale signs that will make you realize that things are not well, and try and use all these things I've said. And if challenges come your way, then that's where now we can talk to a professional who can help you.
You have talked about children, which I feel is a very important perspective, because we keep educating parents, we keep talking to the adults, and we forget that children also suffer loss and grief.
Yes.
And sometimes because we have ignored them, then they get traumatized and they are not able to deal with it. Thank you for bringing it up, Lambert. I want to read what Maggie Mora has said. She's saying it's a great discussion. I have gone through grief, and spirituality for sure is a cure. Then there is Milka, who has said, truly, truly, if it were not for Christ, Sister Roslyn and many of us would have been crushed. And yes, John 16:33 urges us that regardless of all this, let's be of good cheer. Then there is then there is someone here who is asking, at what point can one require, or rather, counseling services is needed for persons undergoing grief? At what point can someone say that they need counseling? Maybe I start with Roslyn. Is there a time you felt, maybe I need to see a counselor, maybe I need to look for someone for help, maybe I need a support system?
Well, I'm sorry to say that I go back to the Bible, the book of Joshua 1.
Don't be sorry.
No, because that's how I do it. Okay? It helped me.
Yes.
Yeah, Joshua 1 verse 9. That talks about being courageous. When you are encouraged, you can go to pastor, yes, and you tell 1, 2, 3. But the pastor will also give you a positive answer that will also continue, because this book is telling me that sometimes I feel so low that I don't think that is going to help me. But pastor will tell you, read that again yourself, and then after reading, now he will analyze these words one by one. Say, oh, surely this book is really encouraging me. You see. And in short, I will say now my conclusion.
Yes.
I said, we women, we should stand tall. We can stand tall like Daniel. Because if we go down, the whole family will collapse.
Amen.
It is you and your God to make this family strong. If a child comes to Mommy 1, 2, 3, whatever, even if it is bad, you give the person encouragement. You don't think that, no, of course sometimes you can slap a child, but give your children a lot of encouragement. And then 2, when you stand tall, God will always make you stand taller than what you are, all the time. God will make you stand taller than what you are.
Amen. Amen. What can you say?
Actually, when you will grief, loss, grief and mourning are normal. It's expected and it's encouraged. But now, the point where you might need help, like I said earlier on, is when you notice that this thing is going on for so long and you are reaching a point where it's like now shutting down. You are withdrawing.
The system is collapsing.
Yes, you are not, and you used to possibly work out, you used to go to work, you used to be enthusiastic, you're not looking forward to going to work, all you have to do is to sleep, you start becoming irritable, you start thinking about death. You start having thoughts of ideas of death, or it would be better off if you are not alive. And now you even start thinking of a plan of how you might want to actually
exit this.
Yes. Then that would mean that would mean that actually you need professional help. Okay, fine. But also another thing is, if the duration, you've gone on after the loss 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and you are functioning, because there are people who seem like they are okay, but they are not okay. They are very functional, they are going to work, but you still feel like you are a car stuck in mud. Before it was different, but uko kwa magurudumu yanaenda tu round. So you are just existing and you are very empty. That would also be a sign that you need professional help. So 2 things. There are those who everyone around them will notice. The first one, people around you will notice there's something wrong. And maybe you might not be the person who will look for help. The people around you are the ones who will say you need help. Then there's a second one where you'll find that you yourself, you've reached a point where you feel empty and it has gone on for a long time, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, then you might want to actually talk to a professional who might actually be able to help you understand what you're
Where
going
you
through
are.
and maybe get to help you.
I want to ask you the next question. You see, what can you tell a young person who has just been dumped and feels the world is not a place for me? Or someone who has failed their exams. This is basically to young people. Or who has lost a friend through suicide, as you have said. And they feel like life has no meaning. And they're saying, I can actually exit this universe. I don't see whether I add value. What do you tell such a person who has been brought so down because of grief?
Let's start with the young people, because if you are young, and we were all young, by the way, we used to have a lot of energy. You have a lot of ideas. And physically and psychologically, you are still developing. Okay? And if you are dumped, honestly, it can be really devastating. It's very painful. You feel like
they say, YOLO,
yes, you only live once. The pressure even of you actually being in a relationship, and then you are dumped. It's a major, major loss. Okay? However, at that moment, you feel like it's the end of the world, and maybe you might want to tend to be impulsive. And what I can say is that there is still hope. Okay? Don't give up. Because Mama has told us about her losses that she's gone through. Okay? Maybe what is different is the stage. All right? And since you are still growing, you can always get to rise up. And it's important for you as a person to get even a mentor, someone older than you can actually talk to, who can walk with you, who can help you process that. Okay? Who can even probably help you realize maybe what could have been wrong with you, or maybe the other person, or whatever it is. So it's room for growth for a young person. Don't give up. Don't keep to yourself. Reach out. Okay? There are many platforms where you can even write a text message and so forth and so on, and you can get someone you can talk to. So most importantly, talk to somebody. Don't keep it to yourself. For the other people, older people and so forth and so on, it's the same thing. Okay? Because that particular reaction is normal, and I'll keep on repeating. When you are dumped, in fact, if you don't react and don't feel like the way you are feeling, then that's where probably I'll get worried. You go around celebrating, yes, I've been dumped, what. Then that is not the ordinary. It becomes worrying because you never know the time when you will go down. Okay, so any young person out there, if you've been dumped, there is hope. Some of us were dumped so many times, maybe that's a story for another
I was
day.
about to ask that question.
So don't worry, these are discussions you can have, because it is a normal stage of growth and development, going through that. Okay? Yes.
Yeah. Even, does it apply then to someone who has failed exams or who has lost a loved one through suicide and things like that? Is it the normal thing you are telling them?
Yes.
I hear people talking about journaling. How does it help?
Actually, when it comes to exams, you see, sometimes now, you see, many young people, maybe, if they are dumped or they are in a relationship, you might find their parents don't know, people who in their lives don't know, because there is fear. They're told, wait, don't do this, don't do that, and so forth and so on. So there's that fear and secrecy and so forth and so on. But when it comes to exams, sometimes you find there's that societal pressure, and also the expectations of the person, and your personality, the way you look at the world, and the way we've been actually socialized to believe that education is the key to success. So if you fail and you had expectations, then you're finished. So it's an issue of helping young people to also change their mindsets and realize that it is not the end of the world. Okay? You are not, failing one exam does not define you, that you're a failure. Okay? Maybe it's anxiety that caused, so it's time for you to actually reflect and ask yourself, how then can I do better next time? Okay? Yeah.
Yeah, because we have many young people who are giving up. We hear like a standard 8 failed exams and they committed suicide. In fact, the youngest case we had was last year in Naivasha, a young boy of 10 years committed suicide. So it's a very common occurrence, and maybe we need to have time to teach our young people coping mechanisms.
And I think most importantly, parents. Also just helping parents, because sometimes if I'm a parent, I'll find that my dream was to become a doctor. Then I did not become a doctor. So I leave the dream that I not achieve. I make sure that my son, who is an A student, has to become what I did not become. So I'm speaking to also parents. So it's good to have that discussion, because you might find that that son of yours, you don't know, you've not listened to him. You don't know what his expectations are. And sometimes when you discuss with them, you might find that maybe they don't want to become a doctor. They want to become a nurse, an engineer, or something else. So that conversation where you're able to understand young people, because you find sometimes young people are disoriented. Some young people set very high standards, but you find that they are nowhere in those expectations. It is someone else's expectation.
So they're not living their own lives.
Yeah, they're not living their own lives. So we need to also help them. But also, like you're saying, we find we need to talk to young people, because you find also young people set very high standards for themselves. And then if they fail, to them they think that they don't have a right to fail. They always have a right to be perfect, to get an A. And yet an A is between 100 and maybe 89. Then it's on a continuum. So you cannot always have 100. So if you get 89 or a B plus.
Yeah, but passing is not the only way. It's not the only way. Yeah,
yes.
there are many other things. There, in fact, the country, many economies are run by the middle average students. This very high class, somehow they get lost somewhere, I am told. Roslyn, you did not tell someone, just some encouragement on what they can do. Somebody who is giving up, somebody who is saying, this world I feel has no place for me. Because you've been through it all. How can you encourage someone out there?
You know, what I went through, sometimes even if I tell somebody, it may be sorry, because the stroke, it may not be easy for them, because what I said, you know, like, you know, when we had fellowship, we organized fellowship, we share the words, we share the testimony, we share all these things. You invite other people of different denominations to also share their testimony, and those testimonies always encourage us.
Yes.
Always.
Thank you.
So to me, that's what I did, and we are one of them who were fellowshipping together. Some, when I was in the other side, I was fellowshipping together with other religious people, not necessarily Seventh-day Adventists. And you know, the testimony they give is so thrilling that you say, wow, then I'm not the only one. I am not the only one. Maybe mine is worse, this one is worse than mine. So it lifts you up. It lifts you up all the time. And then you make close relationship with those people you are fellowshipping with. You become very good friends. In fact, you are like a sister to others. Your problem is my problem. My problem is your problem. That's what it takes. When you have this, what do I do? I'm worthless. Whatever. You are not worthless. Yes, what I did before, I said, yes, I'm worthless. What can I do? But when we started fellowshipping, organizing women, even before that, you know, we used to have fellowship with men and women from the same church, and then I said, no, let us break out of this from same church, but organize women, so that we fellowship together, because women have different problems, unlike men. And so this one really lifted us up. Some people became Seventh Adventists. They were baptized, and they were stronger than us.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. I hope, viewers, you heard what she said. One of the things is to testify to give a testimony of what you have been through, to encourage someone. In fact, the Bible says that we encourage others with the comfort that we ourselves have received. So sometimes when you go through these challenges, they are there for you to build you and to encourage someone. And then she talked of fellowshipping with others, spend time with others so that you can also be encouraged by others. Thank you, Roslyn, because I hear what you're telling me is that your challenges, your struggles drew you closer to Jesus than ever before. What a testimony. That's so powerful. Thank you very much. Do you have closing remarks as we finish?
All I can say is that, especially for young people, that during this time of shutdown and all that, there are many creative things you can do that can keep you busy. And we already know there are many things that you are doing that are keeping you busy. We encourage you to appreciate that during this time, this is something that might make you have so many negative thoughts, that might make you feel a sense of despair. But the most important thing is to appreciate that this too shall pass.
Amen.
And you can live one day at a time. And she had asked me about journaling. On top of journaling, where you express your thoughts and your feelings. Young people, even adults, you can actually come up with what you call a gratitude journal. You are able to appreciate what you're grateful about on a daily basis. There are many challenges that young people can come up with using technology to keep them going every day. Things that are constructive, okay? You can talk about how you've been coping with the stress that is COVID, okay? People are coming up with humorous ways of coping with that. So those are just some of the ideas and suggestions that we encourage young people to continue working on. And these young people who are very active, if they are happy, then it will actually rub off to the parents and the other people in the community. And people will ask you that question, why do you look so happy and yet all this is happening? And then you'll be able to share and there'll be a ripple effect. So one day at a time, let's keep giving thanks, and most importantly and finally, prayer. Like our sisters put it, prayer without ceasing, it works.
Amen.
And let's keep on keeping on.
Amen.
Yes.
I've had people, young people coming up with the food delivery services. I mean, where I live, I see young people saying, I'm making, I don't know, cinnamon rolls, chapatis, I don't know what, all these. Others have come up with talents they never had.
Yes.
They are drawing, artwork, and things like that.
Yes.
So there are many things people can do, but you need to engage your mind during this time of Corona, that we have lost our freedom. And we are grieving loss of that freedom. Mrs. Kenya, do you have some closing remarks to tell us as we finish?
What I will tell those people who have got problems, who have gone through problems and still going through problems, that don't give up. Put God first in everything that you do, and God will lead you.
Amen. Put God first. I want to finish by reading 2 verses. Psalms 34 verse 18 is a verse I like, which says, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. So if you feel brokenhearted, crushed in spirit, know that the Lord is very close to you. This morning, Pastor Guto told us about going through the storms, that Jesus is very close. Let's remember he's close to us. And Psalms chapter 9, verse 9, it says, the Lord is a refuge for the oppressed, a stronghold in times of trouble. Are you going through trouble? God is our stronghold. And troubles will be there. There's no time that will come that we will not have troubles and challenges. But let's know that our Lord is very close to us. And when you feel it's too much, you cannot handle it, God has given us counselors. God has given us therapists. Let's not leave this to think that it's for madmen. By the way, many times when I was growing up as a young girl, there's this girl, a friend of mine, who one time woke up and she was running all over on the road and had a salad of words, you know, just talking. And we thought she had gone mad. Kumbe she was having a depressive attack. So when it's too much, God has given us those people. Mental health is mental disorder or illness is a sickness like any other sickness, as you kept talking. So, and God has given us counselors there, therapists there, who we can talk to, like Lambert and many others. So I want to close it there, and God bless you as we go through a session of prayer. Lambert, please pray for us so that we can close.
Okay, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful afternoon. We thank you for giving us the ability to actually congregate in a small way to broadcast to the people out there. We are praying and hoping that you have touched them, the message has touched them in a special way, and those of us out there who are going through difficult time, Lord, you know what everyone is going through. We are praying that you might touch them in a special way. We're praying that they will find ways and means of continuing coping with this particular moment. Lord, those of us who have the ability to assist and help those who are out there, Lord, give us the strength to continue assisting them, and we hope and believe that you are going to be with us now and in times to come. We pray, hoping and believing in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you, Roslyn, for coming. Thank you, Lambert, for always coming. Thank you for viewers for being here with us. I believe that we have all been blessed together, and God be with you until next time. Thank you.
you.